FM 94, The Dark. JC hanging out with you here, and it is that time once again to talk to another band, get to know another band we play here on The Dark. And on the phone right now, I'm talking with the lead singer of the band Eve to Adam, his name Taki. And first of all, Taki, glad to have you on The Dark. Secondly, where are you calling from today, by the way?
Well, thank you for having me, JZ. I am calling you from Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, and that means you guys are on the road right now, a little tour, I take it.
Yeah. We are just in the very beginning of a national trek with Lacuna Coil and King.
What's that been like so far? I think just last night you said you played at the Roxy in L.A. How was that?
Yeah, we were on the Sunset Strip last night. It was great. It was Lacuna Coil's record release party. It was a sold-out show. Really great crowd, and then, of course, afterwards we got a chance to go to the Rainbow and have a few drinks with celebrities such the like of Ron Jeremy and whatnot. So it was very surreal, very rock and roll, everything you'd expect from Hollywood and a little bit more. So it was a lot of fun. It's always great to roll into California, being a New York band and and throw down East Coast style. So there's a lot of appreciation for it, and we had a good time.
You mentioned you're a New York band. Let's get the history of Eve to Adam for maybe somebody that's never even heard of you. How did Eve to Adam all come about?
Yeah, well, my brother and I started the band. We're based out of New York City, even though him and I grew up in Florida. We moved to New York to find musicians to kind of complete our vision for the project, and that's where we encountered the guitar player, Mr. Gaurav Bali. He's from northern New Jersey, New York area, and there was an instant synthesis and chemistry between us, and so we started the band. We put our first album out in the summer of 2001. So we have kind of traversed the industry through its ups and downs and musical genre changes and fads and trends, and we always started off as a song-oriented hard rock band, with some metal tendencies, and we certainly are now still a, modern hard rock band with metal tendencies, so we've never changed. We just stuck to what we did, for better or for worse, and, waited for the cycle of things to kind of, come back around, and, luckily with some determination and perseverance and a lot of hard work, we're in this moment now here talking to you about the success of our new single, Immortal, that went top 15 at Active Rock, and pretty much put us on the map with some very larger bands. And people are discovering the new album, Locked and Loaded, which is our greatest record to date, that we did with Elvis Baskett and David Bass and Eric Bass, David Bassett, and Eric Bass of Shinedown. And it's almost like we've started a completely new era of our career, and we're one of those bands that did it the old-fashioned way, which is slugging it out, constant touring, finding investment capital, and keep moving it forward, So we're a survival story, and I feel very grateful for that.
Hey, we're talking with Taki from the band Eve to Adam, and I guess the one question I always like to ask the bands is obviously the origination of the name Eve to Adam. Taki, how did that all come about, the name Eve to Adam?
The name is actually a subsection of a famous poem called Paradise Lost by John Milton. And, the name to me just really had a lot of interpretational value, and it just represented a lot of different things to me. It's the spectrum of modern sexuality, the tendencies of aggression, from a female to male perspective. Sonically, it definitely encapsulates our sound. We have a lot of different dynamics in the material of the band. And it also, we're from the Big Apple, and rock and roll is about temptation, and that subsection of that poem is certainly about Eve's lament to Adam, about kind of getting him in a little bit of trouble, So I think it all goes hand in hand. Rock and roll, choices, temptation, all of these things. This is all what we encounter on the road and the lifestyle of an artist.
One question I want to ask you, Taki. Obviously, we'll talk about the CD here, Locked and Loaded. Obviously, you just mentioned Immortal now in the top 15, and that's your first top 15 hit ever. I want to go back just a couple of years. The first time I actually heard you guys was a song that they sent to us called Reach. And I guess, did that song maybe be the one that finally broke through, at least onto the national scene for radio?
Yeah, I would say so, on a national scope for sure. Reach went top 15 at Mainstream Rock, and it certainly, kind of piques people's curiosity with the band. Still one of my favorites, in our longer sets. It's still part of our set list, it's an inspirational song about, trying to get over the hump, and getting through to that next level, not giving up, almost kind of like a little bit of a baby sibling to Immortal in a sense, the start or the inception of the idea of wanting to succeed and what it takes sometimes to overcome the obstacles in your way, So I think that's a fair assessment to say that Reach and the single Run Your Mouth from Banquet for a Starving Dog, those were the two songs that really cued people into our existence and kind of started this entire cycle of us being on a more national level, in 2011. So, even though I say the band's first record came out in 2001, we were an independent band for quite some time. We really didn't hit the national scene till we started touring nationally in 2007. And then in 2011, really, we're able to get on the radio and make a little bit, of a bigger noise.
You mentioned radio. What does it mean to you when you actually hear your song being played on the radio?
Well, it's a huge, it's huge and gratifying because, to work so hard to create some of this work and this art and to have it, displayed in such a large fashion on radio and have people hearing it and accepting it, and learning the lyrics and making it part of the fabric of their life, I mean, it's a huge accomplishment. I know a lot of people still are like, well, radio's not what it used to be and there's so many other forms of medium, but to me, having grown up in that medium and, it's still extremely gratifying. Like I said earlier, I'm very grateful that people took to the song the way that they did and also that programmers did. You work so hard and sometimes, you just don't know how things are going to be, how they're going to translate, and the fact that song translated so well, I'm very thankful. It means a lot to a lot of people. It means a lot to me every time I perform it, every night, and it's one of the reasons I dedicate it to the men and women of the U.S. Armed Services. I have met a lot of friends that serve, and that song really seems to speak to them. And, I'm very happy to be part of any sort of a positive inspiration for them. It's our way of saying thank you for all the sacrifices that they've endured on the behalf of this great country. And, them and their families have really paid the ultimate sacrifice. And I think if, we can give a little bit of thanks, through a song like that, then I'm really happy to do it.
Hey, that's very cool, man. That's cool. That's very cool. And obviously we have a military base just up the road 5 miles from here. It employs thousands of people, and I got to believe it. A shout-out to them, too. And you're playing that music for them, aren't you?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. We have a ton of respect for them and their families, as I said before, and they really are special people. It takes a certain amount of dedication and discipline to do what they do, and if they didn't do what they do so well, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. You know what I mean? The blanket of freedom that we get to operate under is really based on, all of their sacrifice. So, it's our way of giving back and raising awareness to people that, that the battle continues, and these are the people that are there to, ensure our freedom and our way of life. And sometimes I just think they don't get enough credit. And I leave politics out of it. I'm not I'm not an artist that's about involving my views on the stage or whatnot. I don't believe in influencing people in that way. But what I do believe in is showing gratitude where it's deserved and showing respect where it's deserved. And certainly in that case, our soldiers are the greatest.
We're talking with Taki from the band Eve to Adam. One question I want to ask you is your influence of music and maybe growing up as a kid. What did you listen to, and maybe what did your parents listen to, which maybe influenced you of who you are today?
That's really funny. Well, myself growing up, I mean, my brother and I really got into, late 80s kind of Sunset Strip rock, like, it was really Guns N' Roses was the first band that I saw when MTV played rock videos. That was, I was just a little kid, and that's, I mean, Axl Rose and Slash were two of the reasons why I wanted to be, in a hard rock heavy metal band, and, as I kind of came into adolescence, I got into, the grunge movement, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, but it was always, some form of hard rock or metal, whether it was AC/DC or Iron Maiden, that was always the music that spoke to me, it was the most powerful form of, music that I encountered and that really spoke to me, so, I don't think there's anything better than, a Gibson through a Marshall crank to 11, with a guy just kind of screaming his head off, getting the point across. I mean, that's just what I've always been into. And lately what I've been listening to, are bands like, Volbeat, Five Finger. Obviously Avenged Sevenfold is killing it, right now. And I'm really thankful that they are, bringing a lot of mainstream people back to the genre, so I'm very hopeful and optimistic about the future of hard rock and metal. I think everything's a cycle, and I think we're about to see a huge amount of people gravitate towards this music because I think it's honest, it's real, and it's aggressive. And I think a lot of people are feeling a lot of those things right now.
I think it's raw. I think that's the big word. It's raw music that's actually there. It's not, it's not, some synthesizer BS crap. It's something that's raw and true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I've dedicated my life to it.
Hey, you answered one of my questions, kind of current bands that you're listening to in active rock, obviously Avenged Sevenfold, Volbeat to that. How about something in your collection that you might listen to right now that might shock me or even the listeners listening right now? Like, really? Taki listens to that?
Yeah, I mean, something that's a little left of center for me. I would say the Adele record.
Okay.
People always say, they use the word heavy to describe, hard rock and metal, and there's always like, such kind of a Wagnerian competition for, who's heavier, who's the heaviest band. And I think there's moments on the Adele record that, just silence, into her vocal with a piano. It's such a heavy moment, and I think heavy is a relative word. And for me, music is a lot about, it's about the content and the expression of the feeling, and I think that, she's just masterful at that. So, sometimes when I just want to listen to something completely, left of what I'm used to, or the world that I live in constantly, I throw on something like that.
That's cool. That's cool. We're talking with Taki. He's the lead singer of the band Eve to Adam. Obviously, their latest song, Immortal, currently in the top 15. We'll get to the Locked and Loaded album in just a moment, but one other question, I guess, with all your songs that you have done, what artist actually, and this maybe is a little off-the-wall question, what artist would you like to cover one of your songs?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Man, there's so many people that I respect, but, I mean, if you just want to talk about straight up, like teenage, like a fantasy kind of dream. I mean, if Dave Grohl ever covered any of my songs, that would be the end of it for me. I'd be done. For me, I have huge respect for his talents as a writer and as a performer. And if I ever got the phone call that Dave Grohl heard something on our album and really wanted to do it, that would be a huge. That would be so flattering. I'd be speechless. But of course, I'd say yes.
That's a yes. It's true. Another question that I like to ask the bands or individuals that I talk to is, you're in charge of putting together a three-bill band concert for the night. So Eve to Adam's playing along with two other bands. And these guys, these could be bands that are no longer in existence. It could be an individual that's no longer living. Who would those other two bands that you would like to grace the stage with, or artists, that would be a dream to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously so many, but if I just had to go, just top of my head, real quick, uh, we would be the one of three, and then two would be Stone Temple Pilots with Scott Weiland.
Okay.
Um, and headlining for me would be Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
Just because I've always loved their simplicity and their intensity. And everybody talks about, a lot of these current bands, and I've seen Rage a few times, and I tell you what, the way that those guys break into a set, I've never seen any other band even come close. The amount of just raw energy and kind of aggression that comes from the drop of the one on a snare when those guys break into Bulls on Parade or any of their, Testify, any of their songs, I just think that they're truly a primal power, and that'd be a pretty dream-worthy show for me. Yeah, Eve to Adam, SDP, Rage Against the Machine.
Sounds like a perfect bill to me. Hey, we're talking to Eve to Adam. We just got a couple minutes left here. I want to get to the album, the latest album you got, Locked and Loaded. Obviously, I believe the first single that you guys put out was Straight Jacket Supermodel, which I love, by the way. And I've listened to this whole album from top to bottom, and it's a great album. I think you guys are going to do very well with it. I'm very curious to see what your next song's going to be. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But talk about the writing of this album and the performing of this album. What does this mean to you?
Well, this album was different for us in the sense that we worked with three different writers and producers. When we were going into the studio, it was at my request. I asked to work with new people. I wanted to try something different. We made the album in three different locations, Orlando with Elvis Basquiat, Charleston, South Carolina with Eric Bass of Shinedown, and, in Hollywood with Dave Bassett. So, Dave Bassett's had huge success with Hailstorm and Shinedown, obviously, singles like Love Bites and Sound of Madness, and also Pop Evil. He's a pretty prolific writer and a lot of fun to work with. So I ended up co-writing with Immortal with him and my guitar player Garth Bali. So, Straight Jacket, we co-wrote with Eric Bass. Actually, that was the very first song that we wrote for this album cycle, and it was what got the label excited about wanting to do the record all the way through, and really put up the money to do it the right way. They really loved that song, and they thought if that's the direction we're going, that they're in. So it was very inspirational on that level, and it really got the ball rolling. Mr. Mark Tremonti, that we toured with Creed in 2012, he was very instrumental in getting us in with Michael Elvis Basquiat. I heard Mark's solo record, The Tremonti Project. I thought it was fantastic. And I was instantly sold in the moment that I wanted Elvis to do my record. So without Mark, we couldn't have gotten in the studio. Obviously, he's done all the Alter Bridge records, and he's had huge success with them. And, he's an amazing talent. Elvis is, he's so much fun to work with. It's not really like you're working with a producer. It's like he's another extension of the band. He brings out the best in you. All of the people that we worked with brought the best out in us. It was a pivotal moment in our career. It was really do or die. I think we do our best work when we have that kind of pressure. So, and being in a room with that kind of talent and knowing that they can help sculpt your raw ideas and your sentiments and emotions into something pliable and acceptable. That's all I needed, was to have that kind of trust in the studio. And I really felt really comfortable working with everybody because they allowed us to be ourselves, and they took the best possible parts of our personalities and our talents and helped us make this record. I'm very proud of this album. I think it's a very, very solid album. There's a lot of songs on it, that seems to be the word on the street with everybody that's picking it up. It's one of those albums that stay, in constant rotation, on their MP3 players or their CD players,
Yep.
So that's the ultimate testament, really. I mean, you can do everything you want and work with everybody and put your statement out there, but if it doesn't resonate with people and it doesn't become part of their life, then really, it's not going to happen. So you never know what's going to happen. And the fact that people have taken to this music and this sound and this album in particular, I'm very thankful. We put everything into it. It's our lives. It's honest. A lot of people comment on the lyrics. I'm very flattered. I write the lyrics. The lyrics mean a lot to people. I genuinely hear constantly how people are tired of people not putting any sort of meaning into their music. So, people recognizing the fact that we do put meaning into our music and that there is a level of intelligence to the writing, and a certain timeless quality to it. I'm very, very grateful that they feel the awareness to recognize that, because that is definitely what we're all about. There's a certain classic notion that goes with this band, and we're not just fighting for ourselves. We also, we're fighting for rock and roll, for the true spirit of it and the art of what it is, and what I respect about it so much and love and admire about it so much. My efforts with this group are not only singular to our own career, but to making sure that that embodiment of that spirit will live on beyond us.
Hey, Taki, that sounds awesome. How do they get a hold of this album, and obviously more information about Eve to Adam?
Absolutely, man. All information about Eve to Adam is at evetoadam.com. We are on all the social media sites, whether you're an Instagram junkie or you're, love to tweet, or you're on Facebook constantly. You can find us everywhere the social media is. Also, the album just got into Best Buy. It's going to be distributed, so I'm very excited about being in stores. It's been a slow build for us, but it's a real honor to finally get to that level. And, the album's also available through Amazon.com, iTunes, anywhere digital music is sold. All I can say is thank you so much to our hardcore audience and to the hard rock and metal community for accepting us in this album and supporting it. And to all of the other music fans out there, if you love a band and you love a genre and you want it to continue, please do your part to support the bands and the genre by buying the music legit, because this is not going to make it. It's not about people getting rich. It's about people making a living. And if you like your bands coming through town and you want them to make another album, the best way to ensure that happening is to pick up a copy and support the cause, because without that, this is not going to make it. And I just want to say that out there.
I hear you.
I love everybody. Everyone's awesome. We love this form of entertainment, but it doesn't, it's not easy to come by. It's not easy to do this. And if you don't support it, then don't be surprised when it goes away.
And the other thing, too, you mentioned come through town. You guys are coming to Minnesota here not too long down the road, aren't you?
Yes, we are. We played POVs up there with Texas Hippie Coalition last summer. It was a lot of fun. We have some great friends in Minnesota. It's always a pleasure to be through there. You guys know how to drink, you know how to throw down, you know how to have a good time. So, I'm down, man. I love rolling through there, and I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a great time. I hope to see everybody there, and I hope to get a chance to meet you, and we can have a beer and talk it over a little bit further.
Absolutely. Taki, been a pleasure talking to you, okay?
Thanks, man. Likewise, Jay-Z, I really appreciate it. And thanks to all the listeners out there. Thanks for supporting rock and roll. And we will see you this summer at some of the big festivals like Rocklahoma and Earth Day Birthday and Rockfest in Kansas City. Again, our fan base, without our fans, we wouldn't be here. The support they showed for Immortal and the admiration they have for all the effort we put into doing this, it really it keeps us going. This isn't it's not an easy trek. It's a hard journey being an artist and being in music. It's a constant battle, and the respect that we've been shown by our fans is undeniable. We're really blessed to have unbelievable followers, and their inspiration of the music really keeps us going. So thank you, guys. We love you, and God bless.
All right, you want to hear a little Eve to Adam? Here it is right now. It's Immortal. It's on the Dark.